Go for it.
Okay. And it's my pleasure to introduce a very dear friend of mine and a dear friend of everyone's, because everyone knows her, because her name is Gaia. Gaia Patience Veenis is an MFA candidate in creative writing at San Francisco State University, where she has also completed an MA in English. She has written a novel and short stories during her time here, but more recently has turned to creative nonfiction, combining her background in journalism with the fiction writing skills she developed in the program. Her thesis is a travel memoir that explores the trajectory of her life, her parents' lives, and the lives of her grandparents and great-grandparents who left the old world for the new world in the early 20th century. Her work has been published in Writing Without Walls, The Bicycle Review, Airplane Reading, Toad, and the VelRo Reader too. When she's not writing fiction and creative nonfiction, she enjoys traveling the world and sleeping on people's couches. Gaia Patience, everyone.
That should do it. Okay. So yeah, I wrote this travel memoir, and basically the trip that I went on, that I wrote this memoir about, ended up teaching me a lot about myself, and I ended up expanding and deciding to really just explore my whole family history with this memoir. But the trip itself went from Northern Ireland to Slovakia and back. I used financial aid money, so I figured I have to write about it in my thesis to make it worthwhile. But the piece I'm reading, it's where I ended up in Slovakia because I was trying to go to all the countries that my grandparents were from. And my grandmother on my dad's side was Slovakian, so that's where the trip ends. And the point you find us, I'm with my couch surfing host, and we are just about to go to a Greece-themed warehouse party. I see some real cool cats hanging out when we arrive, including a woman in a poodle skirt and rhinestone-encrusted cat-eyed glasses teaching a group of partygoers how to do the twist. The lessons will go on for a couple of hours before the rockabilly band takes the stage. After we order drinks from the bar, where the Jack Daniels and authentic Coca-Cola are flowing, Urban and I head upstairs to look for his friends. We find a man and woman he knows shortly after making our way up the stairs to the top tier of warehouse space overlooking the dance floor. This blonde woman begins talking to me right away when she learns I'm Urban's couchsurfing guest from America. She's thinking of using couchsurfing for the first time with her sister for a trip to Italy they're planning. I explain how to best set up a profile, some tips for finding hosts. I'm glad, in her baggy sweater and miniskirt and modern-looking boots, she also doesn't appear to be dressed for the 50s Americana theme that the other partygoers here have adhered to, some with stunning attention to detail. There are girls with hair in Sandy-style ponytails, or bouffant updos, saddle shoes or spike heels, poofed out knee-length skirts or capris and skin-tight tops. Even Urban has a skinny tie on as a nod to the theme. I've got a cotton mini dress, leggings, and the floral Doc Martens I bought in Glasgow because that's what I had clean in my backpack, so I don't look very 50s at all. It's always nice to find someone who helps you feel less out of place in these situations. As I continue soaking in the atmosphere and chatting with this young woman, the thought hits me that American culture would have been virtually off limits here in the 50s and 60s after the communists took over. Elvis was not publicly recognized as king here. Things like art, spirituality, academia, free speech were officially frowned upon in favor of unquestioning humility and hard work during those 40-odd years. That sort of thing reverberates for generations. Looking around at this Slavic warehouse party on a Friday night, it's hard to miss the fact that the USA of that era represents the freedom, independence, and pop culture their people were robbed of. An old Elvis movie is playing silently on a giant screen behind the stage as the songs of Buddy Holly, Ritchie Valens, the Supremes, and the Ronettes play loudly throughout the space, and dancers continue learning the twist. Eventually, Urban and I join his friends outside for a smoke since they'll be taking off soon. They look like they might have been drinking for a while before we met them, and although they're supposedly just friends, Urban smiles and whispers something that hints at a more intimate relationship between the two. The man, perhaps a few years older than me, judging by the situation of his hairline, suddenly wants to ask me a question. I haven't really had a chance to talk to him yet tonight. Becky, he begins, pointing a finger my way. I stop him immediately, remind him politely that Becky's not my name. What I'm thinking is, that's not anywhere near my name. Oh shit, he responds in sluggish embarrassment, pushing his hand against his forehead. I ponder how it's the kind of name a blonde-haired, blue-eyed American teenage girl would have had in the 50s. I tell him it's okay, don't worry about it, before he continues. I'll be there, Becky, tonight. So, what brought you to Slovakia? He asks with uncertainty. I suppose it is a strange destination for a young-ish American woman, traveling by herself in the dead of winter. My grandmother was Slovakian, I tell him. I never really got a chance to get to know her. Ah, he says, pausing, taking a moment to look at me more thoroughly this time. You do have that Slavic look about you. I'm not sure what he means, but I accept it as a compliment. Shortly after, he and the woman take off to hail a cab, leaving Urban and I waiting for the band to start playing. Thanks to a couple more nips from the flask, we're good and toasty by the time we go back inside and the band takes the stage. They have the 50s greaser look down. Dark hair slicked back with gel, denim shirts with the sleeves cut off, tight plaid button-ups with the sleeves rolled up, pant legs of their Levi's 501s, perfectly folded up at the bottom to match, wallet chains, plain white tees, red handkerchiefs, Chuck Taylors, and I imagine a leather jacket hanging in wait backstage for when the gig ends. They're speaking only in Slavic and singing all their own songs with Slavic lyrics, aside from an occasional Elvis cover song or an exclamation like, "Everybody do the twist and get down now." Urban and I made it up fairly close to the stage, and I'm mesmerized by the young men's energy. There were only 3 of them, a lead vocalist and guitarist, a drummer and vocalist, and a bass player with a big stand-up bass he plucks with gleeful abandon, smiling like he's the good guy. The lead singer is posturing the tough guy image, and he has it down. The drummer's Buddy Holly glasses make him look like he's the sensitive guy. An old black and white American movie's playing silently behind him on the stage. I look up, and I see it's a dance scene. My mouth is dry when I wake the next morning on a bed of couch cushions and blankets in Urban's living room, but I'm glad my hiccups are gone. They seized me sometime after we joined his old friends from Uniwersytet Komenského v Bratislava at an underground bar in the Nové Mesto neighborhood called Devil's Pub. Sometime after the rockabilly band had finished their set, we went there. We may have visited one more bar after that, or did we? I think I ordered some bread and sheep's cheese with chili peppers and olive oil on top to soak up the alcohol in my stomach after I got the hiccups, but it didn't work. The last thing I remember is standing with Urban in a weirdly lit side street with some other late-night stragglers trying to get a cab back here. When I pull myself off the floor and saunter into the kitchen to get a glass of water, I'm surprised to find Urban in a t-shirt and boxers, apparently shooting something into his inner thigh with a syringe. He looks mortified and tries to explain, says he should have told me he's diabetic. I know I shouldn't drink so much, he adds, looking ashamed, before I even have a chance to say anything. It's only like this on the weekends. I tell him I'm not here to judge as he finishes what he's doing and I get my water. Eventually we find the energy to consume some toast and eggs and black tea and get ready to embrace the cold but intermittently sunny day, my last day in Slovakia. I've decided against traveling to Eastern Slovakia. I read the language barrier is tough out there. Tomorrow I will take a bus to Budapest. Today, my host and I are going to drive to a spa where we can purchase day passes to use the sauna and steam room, which Urban says is the best cure for a hangover. When we get to the spa, which I am surprised to find is in a Holiday Inn, Urban heads off to change and use the machines in the fitness room for a few minutes. I didn't bring any gym clothes, so I head off to strip down to my underwear and bra, wrap myself in a big sheet, and find the sauna, clutching a towel and a locker key. I find the door labeled sauna in the hallway that the attendant pointed me towards, and open the door. The very first thing I see is the pancake ass of a tall, white-haired old man. I immediately shut the door. Shit, is this the wrong sauna? Nope, it's the only sauna. It's unisex and clothing optional. I take a deep breath, open the door again, walk past the old man, hang up my towel but keep the sheet on, and head into a steam room where 2 old naked women are lounging on wooden planks. I'm the only one covered up until a father and son come in. The father removes his towel and is wearing nothing underneath, but the son keeps his on. I switch back and forth between the sauna and the steam room a couple of times. I'm getting used to the unisex clothing optional policy. They don't allow bathing suits in the steam room, so I'm not wearing anything underneath my sheet now. There's a young couple here too, and they're both keeping their sheets on, so I don't feel like the only prude. Until Urban arrives, that is. I find him as I'm leaving one of the steam rooms, and we head into the sauna, where he gets into his birthday suit and asks me why I'm not doing the same. I just feel more comfortable this way, I tell him. In the States, saunas like this would probably be separated for men and women, and most people would keep their towel on. Oh, come on, he pushes. This is how we do it here. It's nothing, just sauna. I decline and I keep my sheet on. We hit up each of the steam rooms, then the sauna again, and at this point Urban says it's time for a dip in the cold tub. The cold tub looks similar to a hot tub, but deeper and smaller around, and instead of hot bubbling water, it's filled with icy cold water to revive your senses and wake you up from the relaxing steam and dry heat. Bathing suits are not allowed in there either. Not allowed. I don't want to do it, I tell Urban, but he says I'm missing the whole point of the spa if I don't do it. I've seen the old women jump in there, I tell myself, and they seemed fine with it. My heart is beating fast. I can't think of a good excuse, and I feel like everyone's looking at me. I decide to do it. In a split second, I throw my sheet to the floor and jump in completely naked. It's colder than I could have imagined, but in this moment, I feel free. It feels right. I cry, eek, as my body hits the water. I sputter, oh my God, that's cold, when my head pops up, my hair arctic wet. Urban looks at me and smiles, and I feel a million times safer and more comfortable than I felt when that creepy host in Belfast looked at me with all my clothes on the one night I stayed with him. Right now, we are innocent and naked at the same time. It's kind of amazing. When our eyes meet in that very brief moment before I jump out and throw the sheet back on, all smiles and shivers, I think that my host has kindness in his eyes. Just like the eyes of the driver on the bus from Poprad to the Tatras Mountains, who put his arm in front of me to keep me from getting off at the wrong stop, saying only the name of my hostel. Ginger monkey? No. Just like the eyes of the woman who ran after me when I got off at the right stop but walked the wrong way, pointing and making signs of prayer in a steeple, trying to tell me to take the other road, where I would walk and spot a church just before finding the hostel. Just like my Grandma Ann's eyes, from what I can recall. A little like my dad's eyes too. Kind and innocent, but not in a foolish or childish way, just a nice and open way. Maybe that's the Slavic look, I think. I decide that it is, and I'm satisfied with what I've found here.